Now I know about wonky winding. If you wanted to give the air in these water bottles an opportunity to get out, what would you do? What position would you put them in? You'd put them in the upright position so the air was directly below the lid. So when the lid opens, the air has the opportunity to get out. We all know what happens when we open a bottle of fizzy water. Well, here's a baby with a water bottle for a tummy. So we're part of the way there. We know that keeping a baby upright is a great way to help the air to come out. But the thing is, a baby's stomach isn't the shape of a water bottle. As you can see, it's quite an unusual shape. So let's take a closer look at the baby's anatomy. Here you can see there's an esophagus, that's the food pipe, and that's not connected to the very tip top of the stomach, it's over towards the right hand side. Where the esophagus joins the stomach, there's a muscle which controls the opening and closing of the top of the stomach. In a young baby, that's not fully developed, and it opens and shuts in a less controlled way. Here we can see the top of the stomach is called the fundus, and we notice it's over on the left-hand side. It's also the highest part of the stomach, so gas can become trapped in that area as it's located higher than the entry and exit to the esophagus, which is a bit lower down to the right. Babies aren't in control of taking in air while they're feeding or crying, particularly if their feeding hasn't been optimised. They can't make themselves burp like we can, and they can't stand up and move around, and they also can't tell us what's wrong. So looking again at the stomach design, you can see there's some air in the top of these stomachs. And in one of them, it can't get out easily as it's stuck in the fundus. As the esophagus is not in a great place to let air out, I've redesigned it. So on the other one, I've done a crazy stomach redesign and put the esophagus at the tip top of the stomach. It's a really handy idea, but I guess it's not going to happen. So we just have to find a different way to work with it. So here's the baby without the water bottle stomach, and he's got a real one this time. And he's ready to find out what we can do to get the air out. So here we go. And that's why it's called wonky winding. So if we tip the baby slightly to their left, you can see that the exit for the air is going to be at the top, and that's the reason it's called wonky winding. So to help your baby get their air up and out, hold the baby leaning to their left side and hold them a little leaning forward, and that will put the air in the perfect place, ready to come out when the muscle opens at the top of the stomach again. The principle of wonky winding is nothing new. It's based on baby anatomy. But all credit goes to Lindsay Hookway for coining the phrase wonky winding. Thank you, Lindsay. We absolutely love it. But let's go back just one more stage. If we need to go back, really need to go back and think about why a baby's taking in too much air in the first place. We can use the wonky winding technique as our normal winding technique, and that's great. But if it's becoming a problem for baby and they're getting really uncomfortable because they're taking in a lot of air, we really need to figure out where it's coming from in the first place, and that's most likely to be while they're feeding. So a feeding assessment is what could really help you with this. Find support to help you establish how they're taking in air and what you can do to optimise their feeding. There's a range of people that can help you. Your health visitor, a postnatal doula like myself, your local breastfeeding peer support group, the infant feeding specialist health visitor, or a lactation consultant. So I hope wonky winding works for you and your baby. And remember, always ask if you need some more support.